Hey guys, what's going on? I'm David Avellan, here with my co-host Robert Drysdale for another edition of Breaking the Guard. Robert, what's going on?
Not much, man. Lots of work. Looks like
not-
we're starting to come back to normal, like back to 35% capacity, which in Nevada is a win. I know in Texas they're back to normal,
Yeah, 100%.
normal, no masks. So I think that's a sign that the world is coming back to sanity. And yeah, I'm excited, man. So other than that, just lots of work. How about yourself?
Yeah, came back. Oh no, I think that was from last episode, right? Or we didn't do one since I came back from
Bali?
Tahiti, or
About Tahiti? Oh, I think you did.
oh, we might have.
I think it was like right after you came back.
Yeah. Well, I went to Reno for a little bit, then came back, and now I've just been here, getting ready. Have a camp in Costa Rica coming up in April.
Okay, I got one in May.
Yeah,
With
yeah,
Ron.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
You were in Abu Dhabi, right?
Dubai.
Dubai,
That's
okay.
right. I just came back from Dubai. I was in Dubai to talk to the investor about the documentary. Turns out this is like, just give people a little update, like it's actually turned into a bigger operation than we originally intended. It was going to be a documentary for the jiu-jitsu community. Now we're like talking about entering film festivals internationally.
Oh wow.
So doing like a whole year of touring on film festivals, or I'll be like representing the film as an executive producer. And because it's the quality is actually pretty good. Like we actually have a shot at maybe winning or some nominations at least, and that would up the value of the production for future sale. Let's say it's going to go on Netflix. It raises the value of the film, right?
For sure.
So we might be purposely delaying the release of the film for those reasons. The investor's on board. Like he wants to see the film, of course, but like I think I convinced him, like, look, man, we can do something really historical here. I'd rather err on being late than being, 99% of what it could have been. Like we want to hit a home run here, and that's what we're aiming for. And he was on board, spent some quality time with him. I hadn't seen him in 3 years, so that was fun. And then I went to ski Dubai. What else? I was gonna go skydiving in Dubai because that's what I really wanted to do.
Oh yeah.
And then on the phone when I'm like trying to schedule, they go, "How much do you weigh?" And I'm like 245. And they go, "I'm sorry, you're too heavy." I swear to God, that's what they told me. I'm like, "Are you serious? I can't skydive?" They're like, "No, you're too heavy." I'm like, "Fuck, that was on my bucket list. I can't. Like it's out the window. I guess I can't skydive unless I do it alone because it's too heavy with two people."
Interesting. I never.
I didn't know that was a thing, but apparently it is if you're too heavy. Because I would be skydiving with an instructor.
Yeah, you do it. They call them tandem.
Yeah, it's exactly. So like between the two of us, I think we go over the limit. So
I've done a tandem dive before when I was like 200 pounds, but I guess it's extra 40.
245. It is what it is, man. But so I went skiing. I snowboarding instead. What else did I do? The 4-wheeler on the sand dunes.
Oh, the ATV.
Yeah, those
like
are fun, man. Like those are fun. Beautiful weather. It was winter there, but it's nothing crazy. It was actually pretty warm, so it was good. It was a lot of fun. Good to be back. It was a short trip. I was there for like 3 days.
Nice. It's one of the places I gotta.
It's
my bucket
crazy,
list,
man.
yeah.
Like it's a very intense. It's like Vegas on steroids. That's how I describe Dubai. It's like
That's pretty preposterous.
Yeah, no, it is. It is because you have that vibe of everyone's out there to make it quick, and it draws that kind of crowd. As a kind of like I wouldn't say it's like party city of the world because it can be pretty strict about it, even though there's two worlds, right? There's the world for the locals and the world for the tourists. Like there's separate worlds. But it could be a very strange and very interesting place at the same time. Like there are rules. It really is like a hybrid between the West and what they like about the West, but without really dropping their values or their way of being. Like they're very traditional still. It's a very Muslim-oriented society, but very Western at the same time. It's strange. It's a strange combination.
Interesting.
Yeah. But it works, man. I have fun there. It was like my third time there. And it's funny because I've only snowboarded 4 times in my life. The first one was in Bryan Head. The other 3 were in Dubai. You would think I live right next to the best snow in the world in Utah, and I have to go to Dubai to snowboard. It's a true story.
I've only gone snowboarding once. It was in Switzerland. We went to Jungfrau, and that was a disaster.
It's hard.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I thought, I know when I went skating, it didn't work out well for me either. But that was like when I was like a teenager. So I'm like, snowboarding. I've been doing martial arts. I got balance.
Yeah, no, not the same, man. It's a whole new ball game.
Like it's like all my instincts worked against me. Like, I think I should lean forward. No, you're supposed to be leaning back.
Yeah.
It's a disaster.
I can go forward pretty well, like just going like side to side, looking forward, like an idiot, like a zigzag. But the second I had to turn like backwards to turn, I lose my balance very quickly. I go flying forward or back. Like I can't really find that happy middle. But it's just a lot of practice, man. That's all it is. It can be pretty frustrating, man, because you eat it a lot. And it gets very uncomfortable because now you get snow all underneath your shirt and I can never, no matter what kind of gloves or boots I got on, my feet or hands are always cold. It doesn't matter what I'm wearing. So I'm always uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable. Like 10 minutes into snowboarding, and I'm super uncomfortable.
I was there and I went with my girlfriend Jamie, and we had a private instructor to try to teach us, and he got frustrated because we were falling all over the place. You know, it's like,
that makes you feel like shit, you know, because you can see that your coach is losing his patience with you. Like, fuck, man.
Yeah, you can see he's like, gotta try again. And what's more demoralizing, there's like we're like on the kid hill, and you see like little kids like, I'm like, what the hell, man?
Yeah,
you know? And then we salvaged it by going on what you call it, the sledding.
Yeah.
Oh, and that was amazing.
Yeah.
And that was
that's a lot of fun, man.
Yeah.
Like, but it's one of the things you want to do like in increments of like maybe 2 hours at a time. I after like that 2 hour mark, I start getting like hungry, uncomfortable. You got to go in. You have to have like a cabin nearby. Go have a coffee, eat, chill, take a nap, maybe relax, do something else, and then go back maybe before it's too dark. But that would be fun. But you know, being on the mountain for more than 2 hours, I just can't do. Like that's as much as I want to be there to have fun. And after that, I'm like, all right, I need a break. But I know people that go for like 5 hours straight.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, it's a crazy thing. You see people doing all sorts of weird tricks and like jumping over you.
No,
and
it looks like one of those things that once you get the hang of it, it's a lot of fun. My dad used to be a tennis coach, and he used to say the first year in tennis you're gonna hate it because you're just like picking up ball from the floor. Like you don't really get to play. Second year you get to play. Surfing is the same thing. They say the first year it sucks, and then that's when you get the hang of it. That's when it becomes a lot of fun because you're not falling all the time. I think like snowboarding is something similar. You get that. It takes like a good, I don't know how many practices, maybe 30 practice for you to really go down a mountain and you're just killing it. At least, maybe more. I don't know. But when you watch people going down, they're not falling at all. Because I'm falling like between like 4 to 8 times before the end of it, like at least. But it looks like a lot of fun once you get the hang of it.
It does. So let's talk about something that's happened over the weekend, which is we call Slapgate.
Oh man, Slapgate, that was crazy, man.
Yeah, for those not in the know, there was a Who's Number One event hosted by Flow Grappling, and they had Gordon Ryan facing Robert Jimenez, and then they had Craig Jones facing Ronaldo Jr.
Correct.
So Gordon won, and he did something that was pretty amazing too, which he did the Babe Ruth. He called his submission victory in advance.
Yeah.
And it wasn't leg lock, which he went, I'm going to do a mounted armbar. And he mounted armbarred, Roberto, and he's no joke.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was pretty impressive. And then afterwards, Craig ended up heel hooking his opponent, who was an Atos team member. And from what I heard, Gordon tried to approach Andre to shake his hand. Some people were saying that he was doing it smugly, like trying to rub in the fact that his guys won.
Yeah. Probably a combination, like you do for the cameras, being like rubbing it in his face at the same time. They're not necessarily, and for the camera purposes, I think the right thing to do would have been to just shake his hand and let it be. But
whatever the case is. But the video then afterwards, if you haven't seen the video, it's all over the place. Just YouTube, Gordon slap Galvao, and it's all over the place. But the video that I see, it shows Andre following Gordon, and then you can't really hear what Andre is saying, but you can hear the response from Gordon, and he says, "Why am I running? Why am I running?"
Yeah.
And then Andre ends up pushing him, gives him the finger. Gordon then returns, boom, a nice bitch smack to the face, and it was loud. I don't know if you heard.
Is that the one that was in the dark or no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty loud.
Yeah.
Hits him, and then you would think at that point hands should be thrown.
Yeah.
But then something weird happens, which Andre just keeps talking crap and following Gordon.
Yeah.
And then after another 20 seconds, Gordon turns around, faces him, slaps him a second time. And then you would think, okay, now the fight's definitely has to happen.
And nothing happens.
Nothing happens. And then Andre just keeps following him, talking shit. Which is just...
It's not the wrong thing to do. Like, you either got to back down completely or escalate. There's no in between.
Yeah. Like in the animal world, which we're a part of, before violence takes place, before a fight happens, there are levels of escalation.
There's a buildup.
Yeah, because essentially no animal wants to get into a fight needlessly because they know they can get hurt.
Yeah.
And when you're in the wild, you get injured, it could be death, an infection or whatnot. First one is usually physical posturing. You'll see animals puff up their chest.
Flexing,
And guys do that too. They start, they're trying to show, look, I'm dangerous.
We're just more sophisticated than them. We just talk a lot of shit while we're puffing.
And the second thing is talk, right? Like, we make, in the animal world, it's a loud roars to scare you. But in our world, we're making physical threats and, doing the chest pounding stuff. Then pushing, I think, is the weakest form of physical violence that you could do, which is still a challenge. You're not actually hurting somebody yet, but you're saying,
you're tempting. I dare you.
Yeah. And you're pushing them away, but at the same time, it's like, if you keep coming at me, something's going to go down.
Yeah.
A slap is the next level of escalation. Because now you're like, oh, I hurt you, not seriously, but I just hurt you. Are you going to let me get away with this? Or if not, more's coming behind it. That's what a slap means.
Yeah.
And then obviously the next level is fighting. Now we're going to throw and go. There's no point of return. In normal order, you either match somebody's level or you raise it.
Yeah.
And beyond that, like you said earlier, you just step away. You back out.
Back down. It's like I go what dogs do is they throw themselves on their backs with their legs up in the air, like I'm the beta.
Yeah.
The dogs do that. Like if they're about to fight one of them, I back down. Okay, I don't want to fight. You win, right? Yeah. That's another option.
So what was weird about this is that they were talking crap to each other. Galvao escalates. He pushes them. Then Gordon escalates with a slap. And then you would expect either a return slap, a punch, or you back away. But instead, Galvao just still keeps following him, talking crap. Like he stayed like at level 0 when this guy went to level 2. It's just so weird. Like I can't wrap my mind around it. It's just a very bizarre.
I think that he wasn't. He people confuse real world with Instagram these days. Like to me, there's Instagram where everyone's tough and everyone can talk shit, and then there's the real world. I think Andre forgot he was in the real world for a second there. You know what I'm saying? Like you're gonna, you can't. It's not like you said. You escalate. There's no more talking shit after that.
Yeah.
You either escalate or you back down. There's no in between. Like or you can at least match him, right? At the end of the day, he backed down. There's no way around it. It's like, oh no, I'm just like I keeping my temper. I'm like, dude, that's not keeping your. Like, I don't dislike Andre. I think it's, I've seen him lose his temper more times than I can count. I've known him for years. I think deep down he just might be intimidated. Like, I don't think there's any shame in that. I mean, maybe you're just, you're human. Like whatever. Like I'm intimidated. Francis Ngannou's been to my gym a couple times. Like I look at him, like, could I take this guy? And I'm like, fuck, man, I don't think I could take this guy. This guy's fucking kill me. And it's somewhat intimidating. He's a very athletic guy. He's very strong. He's like heavyweight. No like it's like a scary guy to fight. And I'm looking at him, going, could I take this guy? I don't think I could. And it hurts me to say that. Like a massive ego. Like you don't want to say that. But it's true, right? Like what are you gonna do? Can I take him down? Probably not. If he hits me once, I'm probably gonna go lights out. Maybe I could put up a fight. If I clinch him. But then I'm looking, I'm thinking, but if he bitch slapped me, would I fight back? Oh, fuck yeah. 100%. Like if Francis Ngannou walked up to me and bitch slapped me, I'd be like, I'm terrified. I cannot win, but I'm swinging back. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
Like I can live with myself if Francis Ngannou knocked me out. I can live with myself. If he tapped me, maybe not. Maybe not that. That I could live with. But if he knocked me out, I could live with. But if he bitch slapped me, I 100% could not live with myself. I would be taking that to my grave. I'd be like, I can't believe I backed down. I'd be chasing him down like, now we got to fight, bro. Even if you win, like it's fine, but we got to fight. Yeah. So next time you're going to know that if you touch me, it's going to be on. And then what happens is the guys, people would, even if they beat you, man, we were kids, I remember we'd fight. When someone beat you, they respected you, even if you lost. Like there was a respect there. They stopped because they knew that if they picked a fight with you, they're going to have to get dirty.
Yeah.
And so there was like a respect. I'm like, all right, bro, we established that I'm better than you, but I don't want to do that again. And sometimes the loser was the one who wanted to fight again, and the winner's like, dude, I don't want to do that again because he feels like, probably trying to maintain his status, but there's also like a respect that is gained when a guy actually picks a fight. This is why the bully always picks the weakest child in the group.
Yes.
The bully always goes for the child that he knows deep down is not going to fight back. Like children understand this. Right, but if you know the guy's gonna fight back, you're looking for. It's like the lion who's chasing the gazelle. He doesn't go for the fastest gazelle. He goes for the weakest one, the slowest one. It's the same thing, and what's happening. You're gonna go for the weakest one because you know he's not gonna fight back. Gordon knows now, deep down in his heart, that Andre's scared of him.
Yeah.
And that's why I will wager with everyone in here. You're listening, you want to put money on it, that fight is never going to happen. I'll bet money on it. Because asking for $1 million at the end of the day is a way out. That's what it is.
Yeah, when you start connecting all the dots, he definitely the evidence would suggest he does not want to fight him, right? Because you remember at one point they had $300,000 up, and they had ready to pay the winner. It was a winner take all, and it started at $100,000, and then they kept moving it up, and then they finally got to $300,000.
They might get to $1 million. Maybe I'm wrong. They might actually get there.
No, they won't.
No. ADCC is not going to pay for it, but they might get a group of rich guys together. There are people out there, Dave, that spend $300,000 on a nightclub in a night at Hakkasan. Like, Marcelo works there. It's like, Rob, there's a guy there today, and he spent like $250,000 on drinks. Buy drinks, right? Like $250,000 in one night. There are people out there that are $1 million to them is change. One of those guys really wants to see this fight, he'll give him $1 million. But the thing is, he'll take the $1 million, but I don't think he wants to fight. I think he's seen $1 million because at this stage, it's clear to me that, he's not interested. And he doesn't have to prove, like, what does Andre have to prove in the grand scheme of things? He's done it all, man. Like, kudos to him. He's much older. He's done it all. He's been talking about retirement for a long time. He doesn't have to. But now he's cornered himself in a position where if he doesn't, it's just going to make him look really bad. Really, really bad.
Because, what I was saying before, they gave him a $300,000 potential payday. He backed away from it, right? And then at that point, what did he say? Oh, it has to be $1 million now. Yeah. And when I think initially he had agreed that if it was $300,000, it would have been good. And then they moved it up. And then now he's been doing this. Well, I want $1 million also. So it seems like a way to get out of the fight. And then this happens. Clearly, he didn't want to fight, right? And like you said, he must have thought that it was not possible to get into a fight. Yeah. And I guess he forgot he was in the real world. and this is one of the situations where, like, I don't fault Gordon at all for everything he did. I see him in the right. If somebody who's mad at me is talking shit behind my back as I'm walking away and following me, I'm putting myself in danger because I don't know what this guy's going to do.
Yeah.
Because if he's following me a long distance talking crap, he wants a response. And if I don't respond to him, he might just hit me in the back of the head or something.
No, I actually think that if someone's yelling at you, here's the thing, like, you can always draw the line between verbal violence and physical violence, right? But at the same time, these guys are fighters. There's that. So it's like those worlds are kind of like, it's blurry already because you're a fighter. You're not talking about like regular people, people that are trained to fight. And Andre pushed him first. I didn't see the whole thing.
Yes, Andre pushed him first.
Once you put your hands on me, like, it's gone. Like, there's nothing, anything I do is sort of like, it's
justified.
Justified at this point. So he opened the door. I don't think he was ready. Actually, deep down, I think he thinks that Gordon was going to back down, and he didn't. I thought they were just bluffing, and then Gordon like, all right, I'll take you on it. And then we're like, all right, you win. He kind of did the dog, threw himself on his back.
Yeah, but you see, that's the thing. Like, he kept barking, though.
It made it worse.
Which made it really weird, right? Yeah. Because this guy, again, he was chasing him, walked away, and then when he kept saying, "Oh, why are you running?" So when he turned around to face him, Andre pushed him.
Yeah.
At that point, now it's fair game.
100%.
100%. And the slap, to me, it's a controlled response. To be honest, I'll tell you the truth. I would have just punched.
Yeah.
I don't slap because to me,
honestly, there's something bad about being slapped. I'd rather get punched.
Oh yeah,
there's something that's so humiliating about it.
Because a slap is essentially like you're
calling him a bitch.
You're calling him a bitch, right? Yeah. Like, look, I'm gonna hit you, and either you step up or you walk away. But you're walking away with like a scarlet letter. You know what I mean? Because like my handprint is fresh on your face. So to me, that's like you said. Like, I can't think of one instance in my life, Robert, that someone slapped me without getting punched.
Oh, yeah, I can't think.
When I was in grade school and stuff like that, I got slapped a bunch of times, but it was a fight right afterwards.
It was on.
Yeah.
The thing is, like 20 years ago, this was unthinkable because it would have been a story. Have you heard? Did you know? It was like, it's gossip at that point because like now everyone's got a camera. So you got to be. I mean, when you're at that level and they're like. This is the thing about being a celebrity, right? Everyone's hustling to be famous. It's like, you don't understand how hard it is to be in the spotlight the whole time.
Yeah.
I have never been that, but I've seen it. I've been around it. I've seen people who are in the spotlight the whole time. Dude, there's no reason why celebrities like commit suicide and they're like, going overdosing on drugs. It's like, it's a lot of pressure, man. Like,
sure
Britney Spears leaves the house and she's got a bad, hairdo, and then she's like, it's all over the news the next day.
Yeah.
Maybe she gained some weight and it's all over. Like, it's just terrible, man. Like, people watching you 24/7. If that had been 2 white belts, no one would have cared.
Yeah.
But when you're at that level, man, you got to be watching every move. That's going to go on the internet forever now. And I know these guys have massive egos, man. Like, I guess all fighters do. That's somewhat healthy in some regard, but you got to live with that now. I couldn't.
No,
I would be calling him out. Like, I'd be going to his gym. Like, dude, we're going to have to fight old school right now. I don't care. You have to redeem yourself after that.
Yeah, I've talked to my brother about this. I talked to him, like, I have a hard time, like, getting my head around it. Because look, Andre's fought MMA before, and he's a
good fighter. He's a good fighter.
Yeah, he can obviously fight. So it's just weird. Like, he was obviously not in the right headspace, and like you said, he must have thought this was Instagram, or maybe he thought because there were cameras there that they wouldn't go up. But to me, you can't rely on that. You can't think that because people are watching, that he's going to be civil, especially with someone like Gordon. To him, this is an easy opportunity to get even more fame. He's all about getting attention,
and he knows how to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think what you want, like he is not only that he's exceptionally good at nogi, but he's also exceptionally good at manipulating the press, like he's very good at marketing himself in a very bad guy kind of way. He's like the guy that everyone loves to hate.
Yeah.
What was the name of that Andy Kaufman?
Yeah.
He's like the Andy Kaufman of jiu-jitsu, like everyone loves to hate him.
Yeah.
But, say what you want about the kid, and I've had my fair share of, arguing with him. He's very talented. It's just like, his talent is matched. I mean, he's very stupid too. I think his stupidity is matched by his talent. He's very talented. But you got to give it, like, he backs it up. Say what you want. Like you said, he called it. Humberto Jimenez is a legit grappler. He calls armbar from mount. Dude, that's hard to do.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. Like, at the high level, now Roberto, I honestly didn't expect Roberto to beat him because he's too young. Gordon's he's a better grappler.
Yeah.
And without no doubt. But not like that, man. At least put up a fight. I'm going to beat you from mount. It's incredible, man, truly. But on the other hand, this is all exciting to talk about, but this is not good for the sport. And I keep saying this. Everyone, because we get excited because it's like, oh, fuck, what's going to happen? But the grand scheme of things, you think this is the two of the biggest icons in the sport of jiu-jitsu. They're the super fight ADCC, which I think ADCC loses credibility when this happens, in my view. It doesn't raise, maybe more people will watch, but a lot of people watch pro wrestling. It doesn't make it, just because a lot of people are watching.
Make it prestigious, yeah.
Exactly. Like, you lost class because you have two of their biggest icons. They're two super fight, or the next super fight, and they're fighting like they're in high school, like they're like teenagers scrapping, and at the end, after the bell rings or something. I think long term this is very bad for jiu-jitsu. It's bad. ADCC loses credibility when this happens. Like, I'm of the opinion there should be some kind of repercussions. Like, if you're represent an organization that's supposed to be like, the Olympics of grappling, man, you got to do something. Like, what are the repercussions? Nothing. They're actually reposting it. Like, they're actually like, yeah, guys, let's hype it up, because it's all about the hype. That's the only thing people are looking at. I think you got to look past just this 2022 ADCC. And you got to look at what is ADCC going to be 50 years from now. Like, you got to think longevity. I don't think people are thinking that far ahead. But this discredits jiu-jitsu. Doesn't make us look good,
It doesn't. And it's, again, Conor McGregor effect, right? Like, this is a page out of his plan. Although, to be fair, it doesn't look like Gordon had a role in this as far as, like, planning the event.
No.
He defended himself, like, in my opinion, very civilly. Because, like I said, like, someone lays hands on me, we're throwing down.
Yeah.
I would have just went from push to punch. So the fact that he slapped him not once but twice, it kind of shows restraint. I'll be honest. Like, it shows control, because if you see him, he's following him all over the place. And dude, you got someone like Galvao who could fuck you up, and he's following you around angry, talking shit. Yeah. That's not exactly the safest place to be.
No, yeah. The fact that he's following him just makes it so much, because, like, you are asking for it. Because if you didn't want any, You should have just stayed in your.
Exactly.
I think I think it was Mike Tyson that said like the internet got you all too comfortable, like talking shit, not getting punched in the face for it, or something like that.
Yeah,
It was like a really good quote. I think I reposted it too. Like, yeah, man, that's because it's true. Like, it has allowed people to talk a lot of smack and get away with it. You see this all over the place now. This is not just jiu-jitsu. This is like everywhere. I don't know, man. If you're gonna talk shit to someone's face like that, you have to be ready to get like, dude, like, especially if you're dealing with fighters.
Yeah, man.
You know, I think it's, you know, someone sent me a picture of, you know, there's during the protest, and there's this girl. She's like screaming at a cop. The cop is just standing there, and she's got her finger in his face. I'm like, I don't think you realize that how. And they're talking about privilege. She was like, that's a lot of privilege right there, you know, because if you can walk up to a guy that you know. It's like me walking up to Francis Ngannou and going like sticking my finger in his face and go fucking shit and spit, and then like Francis Ngannou just standing there. I'm like, bro, careful, man, right? Like you should not be able to do that. Like that's crazy to me.
Yeah, you're pushing.
You're playing like that's a fucking gorilla, man. Like, a fighter could kill you.
Yeah.
Like you don't understand. Those cops can kill you. You can't do that.
No, there was a guy just the other day here in Vegas killed someone with one punch.
Shit happens, man.
Remember, I don't know the full story, but apparently it was a couple walking down the strip. Some crazy guy started following them. They went on an escalator. He got to the bottom of the escalator, waited for them, and then when he got down, cracked him, hit his head on the floor, died. You know, so like, yeah, you know, people are like, oh, you know, why would you fight so quickly? Because I don't want to be the guy that hits his head on the concrete and dies. You know, like. These things have serious consequences. That's why I don't see Gordon in the wrong here. He in anything he was controlled in the response. What's weird to me is that okay, you got slapped once. Shouldn't have happened in the first place. Like you're a fighter. Where the hell are your hands? Where's your head movement? You push the guy and he's walking into you. Like what do you think is going to happen? He didn't think it was going to happen.
He didn't think. He didn't believe it.
Like to me, like that's naive. You know,
but like, the first time he got in away with, he could have said like, okay. This is
Gordon's
not going to happen.
Fast hands,
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
The second time, bro, you're sleeping, man.
Seriously.
Like, wake up.
Put the boots up, dude. Like, come on.
No, I agree. In this particular event, I think, like, you know, Gordon's in the right. Like, he just did what I would have done probably. I probably would have, might have had less temper and might have punched the guy instead of slapping.
Yeah.
But, you know, he has a skill to get underneath people's skin. Like, he has an ability. And the other thing, too, is, and this is not related, but it is part of the trajectory that got them there. He has a history of disrespecting people that he should be respecting because they paved the way. On the road he's walking on has been paved by people he disrespects nonstop. When I see him disrespect, not even myself, like Cyborg, like it drives me crazy. Like, dude, you don't realize you're shitting on the people that paved the way for you to be where you are. I think that's incredibly disrespectful. Period. With that being said, you know, it doesn't justify, you know, you should keep your temper. Like you should, you know, you can't lose your cool. Or if you're going to lose your cool, lose it.
Yeah.
Don't be in that limbo of shit talking and not. Honestly, if you would have asked me like 2 weeks ago, if the situation, like not giving the names, just like if this happens, I would have believed it was the other way around. I would have imagined like Andre would have been the one playing the role of Gordon instead of what happened actually shocked me because I always thought that Andre was going to lose his shit because I've seen him lose it many times, and Gordon was the one who was going to back down. Because like my experience with people that talk a lot of shit, they're like dogs that bark a lot, but don't bite. That's my experience with most people, right? Gordon's a guy who talks a lot of smack. I'm like, I think that if you press that kid, he'd probably break. But I could be wrong. I'm always like, he talks a lot. Maybe if my stereotype is accurate, he's a dog that barks a lot. But if you press him, he's going to fold. He didn't fold, man.
No,
it was the other way around. Yeah, and that kind of caught me off guard. I would have never guessed.
The other thing, which, again, like I said, the last time I got into a fight was probably like in grade school. Because once I started learning, or high school, I think. Once I started wrestling, I never got into a fight ever again. Not even close, like not even remotely close. And attribute that just to the attitude. You know, like I think there's a level of confidence that you have, like as a martial artist, or at least that you should have, that you wouldn't go around challenging people needlessly. Even to the point where, like I wrote about this, but I said like there's certain rules that I would follow. Like one, like I don't go to dangerous places, right? That keeps me safe.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm going into the ghetto, trouble's gonna find me because I'm in the place where trouble lives. Yeah. Right. So like no, like I don't do that. I don't drink or do drugs or mentally compromise myself where I might make foolish decisions. I also don't get really close to people that I don't know. right? I'm not gonna get up into someone's face that I have no clue about because, man, you promote violence right there.
You are. If you don't know where you're at, you should probably just be very conservative about where, you know what I'm saying? Like not, but he opened the door, man. That's to me, you got what you asked for.
Yeah, he did everything to pick a fight without wanting to have a fight. That's what's weird. You know, I think, what I talk about is off air, but I said it's like a game of poker where Galvao was bluffing, and then Gordon called him, had the better hand, and then Galvao just kept bluffing anyways. It's like, dude, I saw your hand.
You can't bluff anymore.
You got nothing. You know, I got a pair of raisins. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. You can't bluff even though you have to like showing his cards. Like, you got absolutely nothing. He keeps like, that's a great way to put it. Yeah, man. It's man. You know, look. It's as entertaining as this all is. Like, I feel jiu-jitsu is turning into a high school. You know, it's gone. It's that should not. I mean, they're adults, man. Like, these guys are not. You know, especially. I mean, I know entertainment. You know, but there should be a level. I mean, I think it's overall bad for the sport. We've descended into. It's turned into a circus. You know, what's next?
Well, apparently you have two things that are very circus related. First, you have Craig Jones. I guess they're saying now he's going to fight Gabby Garcia. I don't know if you saw that. I'm not sure if he's serious or not. Gabby seems very serious.
They're just joking. They can't be serious. Like, there's no way.
If that happens, that would be pretty funny. Yeah. Because I think Craig Jones put a bunch of funny things. One, he has that meme where it shows the guy in the party. He's in the corner and everybody's ignoring him. He goes, "I'm the main event," and it has like Gordon and Galvao.
Yeah.
In the middle dancing. Yeah. And then he put like
and no one people forgot the results. Like, no one pays attention to the event. It was all about the slap. Yeah.
He's like Gordon upstaged his own teammate.
Is it what?
He upstaged his own teammate.
Oh yeah.
So then and then Gabby said, "Oh, she'll fight Gordon. You know, like for the best, whatever." And then Craig goes, "I'll fight you." And then she goes, "Oh, are you for real? Or you said like keyboard pussy, whatever?" I was like, "Oh."
Yeah, it's gotten. It's the thing, man. You know, I don't know. Like when I want to be entertained, I watch Bill Burr and Dave Chappelle. Put it like that, you know. But like it damages the image of the sport long run. Like I think there'd be. I mean, if I were the president of ADCC, there'd be repercussions. If I were the president of who's number one, there've been repercussions, 100% to both of them.
Yeah, but this is more clickbait and
it works. It works. I mean, if you want to boost your algorithm and get likes, I guess that's what you got to do. But what's next? Like, I feel like it's escalating because they got to raise the bar. Because if you want to get a bigger applause next time, what do you got to do? Well, you raise the bar.
They have a good formula for it because now you have Gordon Ryan and Wagner Rocha. They both apparently have an affinity for slapping. Someone's going to get slapped.
Someone's going to get a good one, man. Yeah, I hope that Gordon stands up with him because like Wagner has like that head fighting thing that annoys the shit out of people, you know?
He does stuff that picks fights for sure.
Yeah.
You know, like in wrestling, there's guys that would do this where they'll palm you in the forehead. And in the wrestle world, that's like being slapped in the face. Because it's highly annoying. You know, and they're just like,
oh, yeah.
Like that. And it's like, I remember.
Is it legal?
I don't know.
Because it doesn't serve a purpose.
Well, I guess, you can club the head and whatnot. I remember because there was a guy that always used to do that. And it was like, I think he was from North Miami Beach. We had some good matches. And one of them, he kept doing that thing. And I clubbed his head. Yeah. Then he clubbed me harder. And so we had an escalation of this clubbing. Yeah. Where we just forgot about wrestling and we literally just went, wah, wah, wah. And the ref steps in. You know. But I can play this game too, you know. Yeah. But he has that type of very physical style that will get people riled up, which he obviously has, you know. So if that happens with Gordon, we might have some more fireworks, you know. Stylistically wise, though, I think they've already grappled each other, right?
Who
Gordon and
Wagner?
Wagner.
I don't know. I don't know. I can't keep up. There's so many of them. I can't keep up anymore. But
I think in EBI they faced each other, and I could be wrong, but I think they did. But either way, I would think that's another one really like Gordon I think this Gordon's way.
I think for the next year or two, like he's gonna be. Give him too. Like there's always someone that's gonna. It's the one thing history teaches in fighting pretty consistently is that there's always someone that will have your Achilles heel. Like he's gonna know what your Achilles heel is. He's gonna have the poison, and it's very hard to stay on top. That's the reality of it. Like think about look at MMA. How many guys hold that belt? What's the average amount of fights that someone holds on to that belt? 2, 3? I don't know. Like it's not a lot. I mean, you get the GSPs and the Anderson Silvas of the world that hold on to it for a long time, but those are the exceptions.
Yeah.
The vast majority of people who hold on to that belt hold the belt for what? I don't know what my guess is like 2 fights. That's the average, like maybe 3. You know, it's very hard to stay on top for a very long time. I don't care how good you are. Like, and then you get the exceptional guys, like I said, like GSP was a champion for a long time. But out of everyone that's been through the UFC, or all the champions for that matter, how many held the belt for as long as he did?
Yeah,
it's a small minority. I think it's the same for every sport. You get the Michael Phelps, right? But it's, you know, eventually someone's going to come along and blow him out of the water if he keeps competing. You know, at some point, there's just no way out of it. It's just the nature of it. Goes, but like right now, I can't think of anyone to beat him without the gi. I mean, I think there are guys. That match with Boucher, I'd still like to see that again, man. Like I think it was very close. There's like 2 points there that I still have to go over the rules again because he's set with the headlock. And if I'm not mistaken, that's 2. But again, the refereeing with ADCC is so bad.
Yeah.
It's the worst. And people, you know, it's funny. Like I was arguing with someone, and you know, but their referees have 10 years of experience, and I go, you means they've reffed 5 times their whole life? Is that what you're saying? Like that's not a lot of experience, but the referees. And I don't mean to offend, like, but people talk all this sorts of smack about IBJJF, but they're way better. I mean, in terms of organization and like refereeing, it's like light years ahead.
I think the problem, I think the refs could use more experience, but more than that the rules are so subjective.
Very subjective.
So not only do you have someone who doesn't have a lot of experience, but now you're leaving it up to their judgment call, which you're probably not going to agree with, you know? Yeah. So I that's why I like rules that are more cut and dry. Let's take out all this gray area, which makes
very hard.
Which makes it so hard to deal with because you're going to have it's a crying shame that you could have one match that if you switch referees would have very different outcomes.
Completely different.
Yeah. So like man, there's obviously something wrong with this scoring system.
And they seem to think that, you know, leaving the gray area in the hands of the judge or the referee is a good idea. Like it's not. Like you have to. I think fighting is subjective, right? I think it's impossible to get rid of all gray area. But what good rules do, it's like a constitution. It's like any contract. What a good attorney does is like he narrows down the gray area to it's like almost non-existing. I think there's always like good attorneys can read any contract and go, there's a way in, right? Like that, there's a way to break this. There's crafty ways of manipulating the system, right? And if you're a good or / dishonest, depends on how you want to look at it. Attorney, you might be able to do that. Good competitors do the same thing. They master treading that line. Like where's the gray area? How can I trick the referee? Like I'm not gonna mention names, but I know people that they get their backs taken and they act like they're off balance and they go out of bounds.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like they're really good and you can't tell. And I know he's just playing the ref. That's a trick. He's acting like he's off balance and he goes out of bounds. He wasn't off balance. He was pushing the fight out of bounds, and the referee just stops the fight, stands back up, and nothing happens. Doesn't start back on the back, right? So there are ways of manipulating. But with ADCC, I feel like the rules they really need to be rethought. There's a lot of gray area, and there's a lot that is being left to the refs. And that's just never good for the sport. Like you need consistency with refereeing.
You should the barometer should be like, we can have this match with 5 different referees. They will all call it the same. And okay, then we're good. We're consistent, right? And that's what all you can ask for is a comparator that I know. Okay, I might not like this, but I know it's going to go this way.
Yeah.
Not like, man, it's a coin toss how this call is going to turn out. You know, that's not a good feeling. And everybody should know. I mean, that's the whole point behind having the rules. Like, I know, okay, when this happens, I get awarded this or penalize this. Not like, well, if it's this referee, I'm good.
Yeah.
I know sometimes on ACC when I saw a certain ref, I'm like,
oh no, 100%. Like you get the back. Like even IBJJF. Like I mean, I'm not like they're far from perfect. Like there are referees IBJJF that I trust with my life. Like that guy's a good referee.
Yeah.
Right. There's like honestly, and the ones that I really trust, we're talking like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
The rest of them, like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
You know, because it is, in their defense, man, it is very, very hard to referee. The only people who talk shit about referees, if you really pay attention, people like that never refereed. After you referee a few times, you gain like a whole new respect for that profession because it's very difficult.
Which is why, yeah, it is very difficult. I mean, I've run, I think it was like 10 different grappling tournaments, and it was like me and my brother reffing almost all the matches. So like I have a lot of reffing experience under my belt. It's not fun.
Yeah.
It's very stressful, especially when you're dealing with kids or young people. You don't want them to hurt themselves, and then you have to make that call sometimes that they're not going to tap. I'm going to step in for and tap for them, and everybody complains and all that. But like I don't want your 5-year-old to break his arm. Excuse me for stopping this match when it's bent back, 20 degrees. But making calls very subjective, you just increase the level of stress that the referee already has. Because now, like, he has to make the judgment call. And, if it's late in the day, those judgment calls are probably not going to be as good, because he's tired. Because like anything else, refereeing is exhausting. Because you have to have your focus the whole time. So you're like, you're trying to watch every little thing.
And your focus wanes after a while. There's like plenty of research on this. Like you make too many decisions and your brain gets exhausted. Your brain gets tired of making decisions. Like this is why one of the best things IBJJF has ever done is before you would referee for 8-9 hours straight. Yeah, right? Now they do, you referee for an hour, you get an hour break. And the guys go in the back room and they eat, drink coffee, nap, whatever they want to do. They take a little break, get on their phone, and they come back and referee for another hour. So they're working, if the tournament's 12 hours long, they're working 6 hours a day with like 6 hours of break.
Yeah,
right?
That's very reasonable.
It's reasonable, and I think the level of refereeing went up after that, But and not to mention the train. There's a lot of train. Now, is it perfect? No, the rules are complicated, dude. I had Boucher admit to me once that he didn't understand the rules. That's their number one. He's like, I barely understand the rules. That's what he told me. It's complicated. It's not easy. It's not like, I got the solution. It's not so simple, man. You can't create a perfect rule set. There are things you can do to make them better. But in terms of ADCC, I think they got a long way to go in terms of like really getting rid of the gray area. They got way too much left of the referee. And a good example of this, if you pick up an IBJJF rule book, look how thick it is. And you look at most tournaments, their rule book is a quarter of the size. Like you can do the read. It's like some rules are very, very, like we're talking 2-3 pages here.
Yeah. And
then you go to IBJJF rule set, we're talking, I don't know what it is. I'm guessing like 40 plus pages. I have to look, but they're very dense.
I know, I had to look through it once. It's quite dense.
It's dense because they have to, what they're trying to do, and it's not perfect, is doing what? To that gray area. They're trying to make it narrow. They're trying to make it very small, but competitors, of course, are always going to find whatever that is, and that's where they're gonna walk that gray area line. It's not easy, man. Like I've become less. I mean, I know I'm still critical of refereeing and rules in general, but it's a very hard job.
No, it definitely is, and just because, in my opinion, martial arts, grappling sports are probably the most complex sport that you have.
Yeah.
Period. There's so many techniques, there's so many variations, that it's very hard to make a consistent scoring criteria. I just think that certain rules, particularly ADCC rules, they allow for a lot of gray areas unnecessarily.
Yes,
right?
It can be avoided,
You can make things very simple, like the whole turtle not counting for points. That's a massive gray area.
Massive problem, and it doesn't even make sense. Yeah.
It makes it much more difficult. Yeah. If you just made it more binary, take down its points. It doesn't matter what time it is or not. It's very easy to score now.
And the other one is like there's some things like on the back, like 4, 8, 12. That makes no sense. But like, and the worst one to me was like the concrete. You have like transitions and sequences going on for like 30 seconds on concrete. The referee's watching like, dude, when are you going to stop this?
And for good reason. Me.
Yeah.
When we went out of bounds, I got heel hooked from Paul Harris. Yeah. And like when they called the time, I was good. My knee was down on the mat. He was like, had the heel hook. I wasn't in any danger. But then when they said, paro, whatever, I went to my back. I just sat there and then this guy ripped it out my knee.
Yeah. And now you go back in there.
And now I got back in and I'm screwed and we started from a worse position, From the position they stopped. He cranked me, but I'm not from where I was at. So from my lesson from there was like, oh, you never stop fighting. Never. Not even when the ref is there. You just let them physically part you. Yeah. Because in that situation...
That's what I should teach that to my students. Yeah. You don't stop until the referee touches you. Because because in theory you're supposed to stop when they say, but the problem when they say stop or paro, I've seen plenty of referees score points after they say parole.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's intentional. I think it's just like they forgot. Because the sequence looks legit after he said parole. But dude, once you say parole, whatever happens after that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
So I actually you keep going until he actually puts his hand on you, and then after that it's more symbolic than just saying something. Right?
Well, like they did put the hand out,
Yeah.
and they still got cranked. So
I believe you.
I know. So that's why my thing. I tell guys, just keep going. Let the ref physically break you apart.
Because then it means something. He actually touched you, and he's trying to break you apart.
And not just that. I've seen the super fights where there was a guard pass that happened just out of bounds.
Yeah.
And the ref would call time. They just kept going, and the guy on bottom just never let the position settle. And then when they finally broke him apart, when they try to restart them, he's like, no, I wasn't here. And they just went, stand on your feet. I'm like, he just gained himself out of a pass. You know?
It's shitty, but here's the thing: experience will teach you how to manipulate those experiences or those moments in your favor. Yeah. Right? So I mean, man, it's not pretty, man. Like I don't think there's a perfect rules. I think that there are improvements that can be made. Of course, everyone's got their own idea what the best rule set is. What's interesting to me is people, maybe I'm guilty of this too, is that people's preferred rule set is always leaning towards their own personal preferences technically. You ever notice that? Whatever I'm good at, that's what's good for jiu-jitsu. It's like, I wonder, like, where does the bias begin, and when does what's best for jiu-jitsu begin? Like, where does one end and the other one begin, right? My point. If people that hate leg locks are, adamant against, because they're not good at them, so they're against them. People are really good at leg locks. People are good at wrestling. They want a more wrestling-oriented game, which is all, understandable. Going just because I'm like been geeking out on jiu-jitsu history recently. Like Helio Gracie, used to battle for no points, short gis, and like long matches. He liked the longer the better, right? Because he was a resilient guy. He played a patient game, right? Or patience game. And so that's what he always wanted to do. And then when they start the federation in 67, or like I think 54 or 52, the first time they used the rule set that is today the foundation of IBJJF, right? It would have been 52 or 54, and then in 67 they found the federation. It was with points, with time limit, with all that. And I wonder, why did Helio concede? Because that's not the rule set that he liked. He hated points. I think he conceded because he was retired. So it doesn't matter now. So it's easy to say stuff like that. So maybe I do that too. Maybe I say it's okay. I think that a guard pulling should be penalized because I'm retired, so it doesn't make a difference to me. Because all I did my whole life was pull guard. Maybe if you asked me that question 20 years ago, I'm like, no, guard pulling all day. You can't penalize that. But now I feel against it. So it's, maybe we all fall victim to the bias of like leaning towards what we like. But, competitors, they know how to manipulate the rules, but because they're biased, I don't think they're the best people to be making decisions, but people that have never competed shouldn't either. I think that people that have competition experience but are not competing are probably the ones best positioned to create a good rule set.
Old guys that don't compete anymore, like
I really think, sometimes okay, I'm trying to, toot my own horn, but like, I think we are, but because like, we're not invested in the sense, like this has got, like, whatever works to me is cool. It's good for jiu-jitsu, right? And then on the other hand, you get the promoters come up with rules and they've never competed before. Like and I'm not going to mention names, but like if you look at most promoters, either professional events or these tournaments, the vast majority of them never competed, or they have very little competition experience. Yeah. Almost unanimously. If you look at people that are making up rules, if you dig this deep, you're going to find someone who has never competed before or competed very little. Very rarely they get
class stage.
To me that's crazy. It's like, you don't know the rules, so you have to ask the people who best know the rules, which is without a doubt the athletes. Yeah. It's just that when you ask people who are competing, they're always going to want to favor their game because they're too invested in it still, right? So there's two extremes there. So ask me. I got all the answers. Just ask me and Dave. We know everything. All right.
That's a good way to close it off.
Yeah, right? Yes. We know everything. We know all the answers. Once again, we solve all the world's problems here. This is the best podcast on the internet, man. I don't care what people say. We always have all the solutions to everything.
That's awesome.
All right, Dave, it's a pleasure, man. We got to cut a little short, a little early today. I got class in a few. I'll be gone for a week, and then when I'm back, we'll get back to it.
Sounds good. All right, everybody. Take care.
Ciao.